what Cesar was saying. I was reviewing some cases as well, and there was one along the same lines. And unlike with the field interview, they sent out a disability questionnaire. They want to know what you're doing on a daily basis. And a lot of times people, clients we represent say, well,
you mean like the monthly forms?
No, not even. The one they're asking, like, how many hours a day can you sit? What do you do? You spend the TV. The more in-depth one of what you're able to do. Do you use an assisted, walking device, anything along those lines? The questions seem kind of, strange, or so a lot of people think it. But I find, and in this case it was on point. It was a Liberty case. They sent this to...
You mean Liberty Mutual?
Liberty Mutual sent it to the claimant right before they set out to do the actual surveillance. So she turned it in within days. They put her under 5 days of surveillance. And on her form, she's saying how she can only walk with the assistance of a cane or a wheelchair. She spends 14 to 18 hours of the day in bed, and she leaves the house maybe once a week at the most. And over 5 days, they have her walking all around. She has no assisted device. She's shopping. She's barely home, actually. And they used that. They sent it over to one of the doctors to review. And then they put her another 6 days and found even more. So they basically just took on the form what she was telling them, and under surveillance found all the inconsistencies.
You brought up a really good point, which is for people who are watching this video, when do you guys think that a disability claimant should be most concerned that they're going to go under video surveillance? And something that comes to my mind right off the bat, which I see a lot, is if a claimant's asked to submit for an independent medical exam or a functional capacity exam, I see tons of time that they will do video surveillance either a couple days or a couple weeks before the day of the IME exam. They'll sit there outside in the parking lot. They'll follow them from their house to the IME to after, and then a couple days after they'll continue. Is there some other situations when you tend to see that the companies conduct video surveillance?
Since I handle a lot of the administrative appeals under ERISA on the group policies, I usually see that if there is a own occupation, any occupation switch coming up, right before that period's coming, usually within 6 months, if there's been a denial and I see the claim file, that surveillance is done within about 6 to 8 months prior to that switch to any occupation, because now they're going to take a look at it and it's going to be a little easier from deny. So I've seen that happen again and again on the ERISA appeals.
And another thing that I think is important, that the surveillance video isn't just the insurance company looking at these videos. They're not going to be the only ones. If their case goes to a lawsuit, the judge is going to review that video surveillance. They're going to watch those DVDs and they're going to come to their own conclusions based on those videos too.
Right, or the jury.
Right, or the jury.
Another time that I very frequently see video surveillance is immediately after somebody calls a disability carrier and says, I'm filing for long-term disability insurance, and the carrier looks at the claim and they want to try to get them right then and there to see if there's any evidence right from the beginning to show that this person may not be telling us the truth about their claims.
And also what's important to know too is people may be watching and thinking, well, listen, I don't have a back problem, I have a neck problem, it's not a physical problem. They're even doing it on the mental health claims. If you're saying, you have mental health problems, there's depression. I mean, we've seen video surveillance where they'll show the person sitting and socializing and then use and say, well, look, you seem to be happy, you seem to be doing all right, well adjusted. So no matter what type of disability you're alleging, there's a good chance that the insurance company's still going to put you under surveillance.
You bring up another interesting point, because a lot of people call us and go, well, what am I supposed to do? Sit home all day? I can't live a life. I can't do any activities because they're going to put me on video. Or can I go to the gym? Can I go grocery shopping? And there's a quote here from a recent case out of a California federal court. And it says, the court has repeatedly asserted that the mere fact that a claimant has carried on certain daily activities does not in any way detract from her credibility as to her overall disability. One does not need to be utterly incapacitated in order to be disabled. So I think it's really important for people to understand that you can go about living your life and do somewhat normal things. You don't have to be bedridden in order to collect disability. So, you shouldn't live in fear that the disability carrier is going to see you on video, because just because they see you outside doing something doesn't mean that your benefits are going to be cut off.
But I definitely think that they should be cautioned, just because insurance companies will do surveillance. be cautioned not to exaggerate your symptoms just because you think it may get you a favorable result.
It's almost like your Miranda rights. What you say can and will be used against you. What you hold out to the insurance company, you better believe if they can use it against you, they're going to use it against you.
Okay. I want to discuss with you guys a couple cases that have also recently been in the courts where the disability carriers denied the claims based on what they saw in the video surveillance, and these were some claims that came out favorable for the claimant. So, for example, there was a case against Hartford Disability Insurance Company where the surveillance evidence showed a claimant walking, driving, and doing errands for a couple hours on one day. And the court basically said that just because this person was doing errands and able to walk and drive, this did not mean that the plaintiff is able to work an 8-hour-a-day job, nor is sitting attentively for 4 hours while being interviewed the equivalent of working on a full-time basis. Another case said that the observations, this is another case, this one was against Prudential Insurance Company in the Southern District of California. The observations of the claimant riding an exercise bicycle in a gym are also not inconsistent with her doctor's conclusion that the plaintiff would experience a waxing and waning of symptoms, causing her to feel better at times and worse at others. So, you know, I think if I was gonna kind of sum up video surveillance for claimants, most of the activities that you want to do when you go outside or whatever you're doing in your free time are okay, so long as they're consistent with what you're telling your doctors and what you're telling your friends, anybody that the insurance company could get a hold of to find out what you're really doing. I see a lot of claim denials and a lot of concerns come about when claimants are asked to submit to these field interviews. And all the time the companies want to do these field interviews of people who are already on claim or trying to get on claim. And the field interviews will ask specific questions about what activities are you doing and how long can you sit and how long can you stand. And how many times have you been sitting in a field interview where they ask you those questions and then 10 minutes later they bring out their laptop and they pop a video screen in and they say, well, you just told us you can't stand for more than an hour. We have you on tape walking around for 2 hours in the grocery store. I mean, how often have you guys seen something like that?
You do see that. Sometimes you get a little, even in those field interviews, you'll sense it's coming. You'll sense in the questioning what they're doing, or it's almost like in-person surveillance. It's not quite undercover during those field interviews where they're watching you. If you say you can't sit, for a half hour without great discomfort, these field interviews take a while. A lot of times you don't move, but you can almost sense that. You do see that. I mean, there's happened plenty times, and the insurance company isn't necessarily under a duty to provide you with those surveillance tapes, and, at certain points in the claim. So there always is, and it really goes back to that honesty is the best policy. You have to be truthful. You can't try to embellish too much, or it's going to turn into a case where the insurance companies, it's going to be a matter of character assassination where they're going to paint you as a liar.